Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday Western U.S. regional forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I got to start off with the latest U.S. Drought Monitor update because we saw some major changes in the state of Oregon. Check this out. If you go back just a week ago, we had much of the state of Oregon still covered in the first stage of drought, and because of all the rain we've had over the last couple of weeks, we've worked away on this. And while it's been soggy at times over the last 30 days, and this has been problematic for some early, field work, the better news with all of this is that we're going to go into our dry season without drought. And California, much of the West, we're doing great. The only place we've been discussing is really been the northern parts of Washington and Idaho and Montana, this little corner here of Idaho and Montana. So I think this is great news moving forward, but let's take a look at the rainfall we got at least over the last 3 days. Things have been relatively quiet and dry, while much of the rest of the United States has been rocked by a pretty massive low pressure system. Just to let you know, we just brought in this area. Now, this is an area I just circled that over the last 14 days has had an excess of rainfall. Some locations here are approaching over a foot of rain just in the last 2 weeks. Or well, we just added to this 3 to 4, in some locations 5 inches of rain, and a whole lot of severe weather. And this is moving up the East Coast today. So I just want to keep you aware of some troubles we're having around the rest of the country. But if you look out across the Pacific, about the only disturbance we're going to be dealing with here in the near term is this little shortwave you see right here. And this is only going to be a problem for us in the day on Friday and early Saturday morning. And the Pacific Ocean's really telegraphing a bit of a pattern change here that we're going to be talking about. But let's get right into that short-term forecast. I'm just going to play this out for you. This is just looking through Friday here into Saturday and getting you into early Sunday morning. You see that little shortwave kind of coming on shore here. If I just kind of backtrack this, what you see is that throughout the morning on Friday, some widely scattered showers throughout coastal Washington, getting across much of the state there. And then into Oregon, it's just, again, this is widely scattered precipitation. This is not a big deal. If anywhere it's going to be wet, I guess it would be Saturday midday. We're kind of putting in the precip right here in Northern California and Southern Oregon. But it's hard pressed to call this really wet compared to what we've seen recently. But this is just the beginning of a larger system that kind of squeezes in here into parts of Nevada, a larger system that's dipping down here and that's going to be causing problems once we get out into the Central Plains here into midweek next week. But overall, things, just look at this. This is just your next 5 days of total accumulated precipitation. Really, it's just this system that's going through now that's causing much of our precip headaches here along the West Coast. So we're talking right in through here. Much of the Columbia River Basin stays dry, as does much of the Snake River Valley. Just mainly some widely scattered showers with this system. But then as it gets going into early next week, we can kind of see the precip here getting going here in the Rocky Mountains as we progress forward. Look at this, though. Much of Southern California, the Central Valley stays dry. This is a drier pattern moving forward. Well, I told you that the Pacific Ocean's telegraphing something, and what it's telling me is, and we talked about this earlier this week, is we're going to be watching in this area for the development of what looks like over the next 10 to 15 days, a frequent appearance of a trough sitting over Alaska. And what that generally does is we tend to get more ridging down here, and the flow pattern tends to do something like this. It kind of goes around that ridge, and which means if we're getting a lot of precipitation, it's going to target more of British Columbia and Alaska than it is going to be the western part of the United States. Now, what do we call this? This is part of what is known as the positive phase of the East Pacific Oscillation, and that trough over Alaska is a part of that. So we can see that stretching all the way out toward the end of April here, that we're keeping on the positive side of things. So what does that look like? Well, let me step you through here our upper level flow pattern. You're going to see it, okay? We'll just do this relatively quickly. Got the ridge that's coming in over the weekend, but we're going to watch this sneaky little trough move through parts of California. And this is the troublemaker that's going to be out here in the Great Plains once we get into midweek next week. For us in California, this isn't that big of a deal. Maybe some cloud cover, but it's really not even cooling temperatures down too much. Gets in the Intermountain West. This is helping support the precipitation you saw in this area in my 5-day forecast for the rainfall. But that gets out into the plains, and look at the ridge that comes in behind it. So as this gets down here and starts to make problems for the south central plains, we, across the western part of the United States, get ridging. And that is because by midweek next week, we're seeing this trough really set up shop over Alaska. So with the colder air there, we're going to get multiple days here of above average temperatures throughout much of the western United States. Now, we're going to have to be watching next weekend. So I'm talking here the 26th, 27th, 28th. for a piece of that trough to potentially start to impact the Pacific Northwest, really parts of Washington State. And we'll talk about that. So we're talking next Saturday. This is more than a week out here in the forecast. But overall, we see, again, the trough rebuilding here in the Gulf of Alaska, and that's going to lead to, more often than not, some ridging. Now let's kind of see what this means piecewise for precipitation. See the ridge? Oh, there it is. The trough developing north outside of our view here. But as I play this forward, let's just step you back. Ready? This is the system that sneaks through on Friday into Saturday morning. Remember I said it was going to be bringing some higher elevation precip here induced by the mountains, and then we're dealing with some lighter rain showers here in parts of southern Oregon, northern California. But as that trough sweeps through Southern California, it's not doing too much. It's just causing widespread, Rocky Mountain precip in this area before merging over the Great Plains. But see this ridge here? We're just directing all of our flow north into Alaska, into British Columbia. So to start next week, things are looking relatively dry, but you're going to see maybe some coastal precip here in parts of Washington. But the rest of the Pacific Northwest, the rest of California, the rest of the Mountain West, we got drier weather coming. See this? I got y'all up to next Thursday, next Friday, and then here it is. Remember I said we had that one piece that's coming through. This is for next weekend. Yep, we're going to watch next Friday. So this is April 26th. Next Friday into Saturday and Sunday for potentially that system to come through. But look, it seems as though as we get out a little bit farther that the atmosphere wants to go back into that same configuration. See this low? It's moving back toward British Columbia. All right, so what does it all mean? When you just put together our next 10 days, overall, according to the European model, we carry that drier bias here in the western United States, despite the couple of systems that try to come through. Where's it wet? Well, we keep seeing systems doing this, right? So that's going to keep, the southern shores of Alaska and the west coast of British Columbia maybe on the wetter side of things. So that's an interesting pattern. Here's the other part of this. Next 5 days, that's what I got for you right here. Look at the temperature anomalies. We're warming things up. And even if you look over the 5 days that follow that, so this gets us out to about day 10, we still see much of this region staying warmer than average. And only because that trough sneaks in here do we start to see a return towards some normal temperatures, maybe at times a little bit cooler than average here in the state of Washington. So when you put it all together, our next 10 days is going to really be working hard on this map. This is growing degree day anomalies. Now, I started this back on the 1st of this year, okay? So I'm using a base of 50 degrees. We've been talking about how we've picked up, we're above average in parts of California here. Well, we're going to add to this. This map is going to get a lot more red with time here as we progress over this warmer pattern that's evolving. Our attention needs to be out there in the Pacific Ocean just to see these systems kind of go around this positive EPO pattern that we're in right now, and we'll just keep a close eye on it and keep an eye on how things are evolving over the coming days and weeks. With that, though, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next Western Regional Forecast video. It comes out on Tuesday midday, but remember, we've got a lot more content that comes out every day at my.nutrienagsolutions.com, so please check it out. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.